Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Baronowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneider.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baronowski-Schneider. Today I'm joined by Mark Steven Porro. So welcome, Mark. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, okay. So I was born and raised in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and that's in the farthest northeast county of that state. Both parents were worked full time. My mother was a proofreader for the Record for 30 years. My dad was a chemist. And so after graduating high school, I went slowly west. I went to the Ohio State University and got a degree in industrial design. Did design for, I guess, a few years. And then I caught the acting bug, which was kind of instilled in me when I was a kid, because my mother was very much into the arts. So we all performed in the ballet and stuff at different, I guess, lengths of time. I retired officially, I think, at 10. So, but I still had that performance thing, I think, in me. So I moved out in 1984 to Hollywood, and I still did design to pay for food in between acting jobs, and then did the acting thing for 28 years.
Nice.
And now I live in the south of France, and I'm suffering here in the middle of the largest wine growing region in the world. So poor
I feel so
me.
bad for you.
Terrible.
Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, world traveler, I think that's amazing. And for those that don't know, the Record is a Jersey newspaper.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had a quite adventurous life. I do like, I guess I do like adventure, and that's kind of been my MO throughout my life.
That is awesome.
But when the subject of the book came up, there was yeah, that adventure was, I guess, the latest one, and yeah, there was no moving on until my mom decided to move on with that one. So I had to commit to the caring for mom, and stayed with it. So that was a good lesson for me.
Right. So I guess the book that you have is A Cup of Tea on the Commode. So I guess tell us a little bit about, I pretty much was going to ask what inspired you and how did the title come about, but you could tell us a little bit about the situation and how that all came about.
Okay, so I was in my mid-50s living a carefree bachelor life in Los Angeles. Again, pity me. I had no children. I never was married, and but I did have a business, and my acting career was kind of on the wane because I was aging out and I didn't quite reach the A-level status. So things were a little slow, and so my focus was basically on my snack food business. And then in 2011, I got a call shortly after my mom's 89th birthday that she just shut down. And it seemed like she was willing herself to die. She was not happy. She was living in her home that we all grew up in. And we had some people that were kind of supervising the household duties and things like that. A family moved in upstairs. But at that point, my mom could still walk and function and do things. And but they were helping with taking care of the house and the cleaning and the laundry and shopping and things like that. But mom was not happy. So she was non-responsive. Michael, my older brother, put her to bed and called the doctor. And the doctor said, that's it. Call hospice. She's going. And they cut off all meds and food. And once hospice was called, I kind of freaked out because 14 years earlier, hospice was called for my dad. And 2 days later, he died. So when hospice is called, the end is usually not a good one.
Right. Now, was your mom
so
sick?
We all flew in. There was no injury, no illness. She just was not happy. So she just kind of like shut down. We had a priest come in and deliver the last rites. And so my younger sister and I hung out with hospice because they're there full time until something happens, or 6 months if the patient survives. And quite often, I guess they don't. But so my sister and I, we didn't know how long mom was going to be with us, but we wanted to take care of her as much as we could. So we learned all the tips and tricks from hospice, how to, change the diapers and how to change the bedding with the helpless patient in bed, how to attend to any kind of medical needs and things like that. But the directive was no food. All meds were cut off, maybe a little moisture on her lips for comfort, but that was it. But after about 3 weeks, we were pretty much on death watch. My sister and I actually went to the funeral parlor and picked out the coffin and stuff. And so about 3 or more weeks in, one of the hospice nurses, they all knew the directive. And we found out that hospice nurses like to do their own thing. Not all of them follow the rules. And sometimes that may not be so good. But in this case, it actually was. So this one nurse saw that, oh yes, no food, no getting out of bed or anything like that. She walked right into my mom, whose eyes were closed almost the whole time. She never spoke. She responded to touch a little bit, and I think she sensed that all her kids were there, and that was that was nice. But this nurse leaned into my mom and said, "Mrs. Porro, are you hungry?" And my mother's eyes shot open for the first time in weeks, like a dinner bell rang. And it was like, so now this nurse is thinking and actually accused us of starving our mother to death.
Wow.
So we obviously took offense to that. And so we told her to go call her supervisor because she broke the rules and we weren't happy about it. And we also weren't happy about being, the accusation. So her supervisor told her to leave because she broke the rules. But now I'm thinking, maybe hospice was not correct in their initial assessment. So I went in all guilt-ridden and asked my mom, her eyes were still open. I said, "Mom, are you hungry?" And she says, "What do you got?" First words in weeks.
Wow.
And I said, well, at this point, it's March. So this whole thing started in early February. Now we're into March. And I said, well, anything you want. And she goes, how about some pumpkin pie? And I'm like, well, March isn't exactly pumpkin pie season, but my brother was in the living room and he lived locally. So I asked him if he wanted to take on the mission of finding pumpkin pie. And he came back in less than a half hour with 2 pumpkin pies.
Wow.
And she came back. She ate the pumpkin pies. At first she spit it out because that was her first food in weeks. Second bite was great, and she downed half the pie. The next day, she downed the other half of the pie, and the next day, I think she ate the full pie. But she was back, and she might have been riding the biggest continuous sugar high, but mom was back, and it was great. And so I think I have a chapter in the book that I call a silent scream, and I think it was a cry for help because there was the love was definitely lacking in the house. Mom didn't get along with these people that were there, and they didn't. We found out later they were masking their contempt for my mother, which was really kind of sad. So, and they were living there for at that point 3.5 years. So it's like, get out, or if this is so terrible, because our mother's not happy, you're not, but they stayed. So I realized then that it was, we needed some love back in the house, and so that slowly got me thinking of, my mom deserved better. So I want to come back and make sure that her last years were filled with love and laughter and joy. So I didn't move back right away. I came back in September for a couple of weeks, took care of her again there. And that's when I asked my mom if she wanted me to come back full time. And she said, yeah. And so December of that year, I moved back full time.
Oh, yeah, when you mentioned that her eyes lit up, I said, or that she kind of knew. I think they can sense like my family's back. You have
Yeah.
that void. I think that's awesome.
I think, yeah, even if they're, I called my mom's state a semi-coma state, whether that's medically correct or not, I don't know. But yeah, they sense that. So I think the hearing is the last thing to go, which I realized 3.5 years later when she actually did pass. She still heard things. So I talked to her all the time, just in case.
Right.
And
That's awesome.
so she definitely had a sense that we were there and wanted us there.
Right. So I guess tell us, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced as a first-time caregiver, especially as a son taking on this role?
Well, I was very fortunate to, I guess, have an open mind and open heart and hang out with hospice to learn from the pros because, I mean, I changed my nieces and nephews' diapers and stuff once in a while or something like that. So I wasn't completely inept, and I'm a pretty good, I guess, like I said, adventurous guy. So I was willing to jump in and do what it took. So, but again, as a son, you're seeing when I moved back, my mom turned 90. So you're seeing your 90-year-old mother naked for the first time.
Right.
And I took care of all her needs. So there were no lines that were not crossed, but I had to get over it and get on with it because I had a job to do. And I said, if I'm going to take on this role, and this were the acting, I think, and the design all came in saying, okay, this is your role. You're now the caregiver. You're still the son. She's still your mother, but you're the caregiver and she's your patient. So you're in charge. Her life was literally in my hands. And once I jumped in, it was, giving it 100%. And so,
I mean, that kind of touched on, because I was going to ask you, how did your background in acting and entrepreneurship influence your approach to caregiving and writing your memoir? Kind of touched on that. Yeah. I mean, people don't realize, I mean, that's where, things happen in life. Like I actually had an issue where I was in an accident, have no memory of anything. I was kind of like no memory for like a whole month. And I was functioning as like a 5-year-old. And, again, my husband, he had to like do diapers and stuff because I had no concept. And, these are things, he had, his daughter was grown at this point, but it's like, who in the world would ever think? But things happen, and to step right up is just huge. I think that's awesome that you did it. And I know your mom felt the love there, which, is probably why she held on as long as she did afterwards.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I have one of my brothers, hopefully he won't listen to this, but his version of tender love and care is very different than mine. So he would come in to stay and practice in case I needed help. Tuesday nights was his night. So he would come over and cook dinner and then get mom ready for bed at night. And I saw how he did things, and it was, my mother's doing a face plant into the bed railing and things like that. And I see her from the other side going, Mike's just rubbing away and changing diapers and stuff. So luckily she survived that, which was, but interesting, our different approaches. And I'm the youngest son. I'm the 5th out of the 6 kids. And I had, I guess, more of a romantic take on the whole thing because I had a good relationship with both of my folks. I got them to open up about things they never opened up about because they were depression babies and came from that generation. They didn't talk about things. And so I was always very curious. And so I had, I think, a pretty special relationship with both of them. So with mom, I knew she trusted me, and luckily my siblings trusted me. And so I also grew up with 3 sisters. So I knew how to take care of a lady, and I'm kind of a romantic guy with my, I guess, Italian and French background. So one of the first things I did for my mom, I bought her a new wardrobe. I wanted her to feel good and look good. And, she had these old lady clothes and things like that. I said, that's not going to go for my mom. So it's amazing what a new wardrobe would do for a lady, even, at 90 years old. And then to treat herself, again, she had 6 kids and worked full time. But she went once a week to the beauty parlor for a shampoo and set and had her nails done. She had beautiful long nails. She was a nail model back in her late teens and early 20s. And So I said, I don't know when the last time she went to the beauty parlor, but whenever she visited me in Hollywood, I would take her to my friend Stan's place in Beverly Hills to give her the movie star treatment. So I knew she liked that. And I got some tips from Stan. And so I created this thing called Day of Beauty at home to recreate the salon treatment that she loved. And I don't know when the last time she was, it might have been when she came to Hollywood. So I always gave her 2 sponge baths in the morning and night. But on Day of Beauty, while she sat on the commode, I would soak her feet in Epsom salts. I would shampoo her hair. I would take care of any kind of medical needs, gave her a full body massage, and let her pick out her new wardrobe, and then blow dried her hair and put it in a ponytail or a braid, and gave her some, did her nails. And then some lipstick, finished it off with some nice bright red lipstick. And I didn't think that much of it. I thought, oh, this is a nice thing to do. So the first time we did this, I'm wheeling her from the bedroom into the kitchen for breakfast. And we have a big mirror in the dining room. And I parked her in front of that mirror, and I leaned in and said, "Who's that pretty girl?" And she just beamed. And it was just that little gesture. Again, I didn't think that much of it, but the effect on this woman, and of course on me as well, was profound. And then you start thinking, well, when's the last time she even looked in a mirror? But when's the last time she looked in the mirror and liked what she saw? When's the last time she felt beautiful? And so I learned that, wanting to feel pretty does not end at 90. And so every day from that point on, I parked her in front of that mirror, even between days of beauty, and just said, "Who's that pretty girl?"
That's awesome.
And it was great. And then it also radiated. Everybody who was around her felt this. It was contagious. So it was just lovely. So that makes you want to do more of those things. So I gave her first bubble bath when I ended up I not only wanted to return dignity to her, but I wanted to return dignity to our house that needed some repair. And again, our family was living in there for over 6 decades. So I ended up during these 3.5 years renovating the entire house because she slept a lot during the day like a baby. So I tried to keep quiet while tearing apart the house. And so when I finished the upstairs bathroom, which used to be, since we had 6 kids, a boy's side and a girl's side. So I knocked the walls down, stripped it to the rafters, and built it up and put a huge bathtub in there, as well as a shower and stuff. And so I asked her if she wanted to christen the new bathtub with a bubble bath. She said, sure. So I carried her upstairs, put her in the bubble bath, and shot a nice picture of her in the bubbles, very modestly, very well-placed bubbles. And she's just, again, beaming. And then she passes out in the tub. And I'm thinking, oh, great. I try to do a good thing and I kill my mom. But at least she smelled good. So,
but I think it's awesome, though.
She had a wicked sense of humor. So I thought she was kidding. And I started, patting her cheek, going, "Come on, what are you doing?" And I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to explain this to my brothers and sisters? So I pulled her out of the tub and put her to bed and called a nurse. And they said that I left her in the hot water a little too long and her blood pressure just plummeted. She basically fainted. So I stayed with her. She woke up a half hour later and had no memory of passing out, but she did remember the new bathroom. So it was a win-win for me. And one of those, phew.
Yeah, thank God, right?
So there were no more bubble baths after that.
But it is true, though. So many people, like I knew somebody else recently who doesn't really go out, doesn't really do much, but she got a haircut. Normally, I was always cutting it for them, but they went and got a haircut. And they were like, it just felt so good because they're talking to you, they're fixing it and styling it. And it's like, even though you're not going anywhere, you just feel good. So I can imagine, because like you said, she probably hadn't done that stuff since you guys were kids.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's funny because when I'm doing I've done a bunch of interviews and stuff, and hopefully more people will do it. And if they listen to this, even more. But they're saying even in nursing homes and assisted living places, someone from a beauty salon, whether they're volunteering or offering the stuff for free, they're coming in and doing these beauty days, these salon treatments for these women. And they said the attitude in the place is just changing.
I bet.
It's tremendous. So it's like, yeah, once you get to a certain age, it's like, yeah, I don't care. No, it's
You know what it
treat
is
them
when they
like
get,
they're,
yeah,
yeah,
when they
they're
get to a
young and
certain age,
beautiful.
they're kind of like, your hospice. We're just going to put you in the corner to die and just
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Just don't make noise.
Yeah, I
So
think
you
even
feel
with the
like a no
men
one.
too.
Yeah.
A couple of days before my dad passed, we asked him if he wanted to shave because he had a little bit of a growth going, and he said yeah. So we gave him a nice shave,
Nice.
and because he always was clean shaven, so it just made him feel good.
Right.
The hot chocolate didn't hurt either after, but the shave, it was good.
Right. Nice. So I guess, what do you hope readers will take away from your memoir, and especially other men who might find themselves in a caregiving role?
Well, not everybody is, let's say, qualified or willing to do this. And I understand this because
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends. Most of the people who've read the book and the response I'm getting still comes from women. I think they say it's still about 60% of the caregiving falls on either the daughters or the women in the family. And but we're catching up. But it was it was probably more of a gift for me than for my mom. I think what I did for my mom was like, for me, that's just the right thing to do. We were brought up in a really lovely, nurturing family. We cared for others. And so that was not a big deal. But I learned so many, I learned unconditional love. I certainly learned that if you jump in with the right attitude, it's amazing how the universe seems to support that. It was very cool. I said, this is what I'm doing. And everything kind of seemed to fall in place to make it work. So humor is a huge deal. My parents were both pretty funny people, and luckily they passed that on to us. So humor played a big role in this thing. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to write the book, or what I took extensive notes the whole time, because I had only 8 days with my dad, but I took notes there too, because I did writing and screenplays and jokes and stuff in Hollywood. So taking notes and putting into some form, whether a poem or a film or something, I knew was going to happen at some point. But with my mom, again, I wasn't sure, but I took a lot of photographs and videos, and there was just some precious conversations that we had that I wanted the other family members to be privy to. And
That's awesome.
it was a lovely gift. And I have a chapter in the book. I had a recurring dream. It was interesting. So in this dream, my mom and I are in a rowboat, and she's rowing, but I'm like out front and looking for stones and debris and things like that were going to impede our journey. And I had this dream a lot as a kid. And I used to think, oh, it was a mother guiding her son through the turbulent waters of, growing up, because I had two older brothers who were kind of like, I guess, terrorists for me, and two older sisters who tried to do the same thing by tickling me to death. I think. So it was, so it was interesting. So that's how I originally interpreted. And then upon reflecting of my experience that I was going through at the time, I think, well, maybe I'm guiding the boat. Mom is still powering it and deciding when this journey ends. But now I'm the captain, and I'm doing it. And I thought, again, originally I thought I went back home to rescue my mom. And I think upon reflection, she may have been rescuing me, because it gave me a purpose that I didn't. I mean, I did some good things, I guess, in life, and try to be a good citizen and a good friend and things. But this gave me a purpose that was certainly more valuable and more important than anything I did previously. Or let's say my best Hollywood role was this. And so that cry for help might have been to save me, which was interesting.
They always say all these crazy things that happen in life, we'll never know why it happens, but there's always a reason for it. And usually you reflect on it after the fact. So you could very well, be right. And the same way your mom might have just been like, okay, I'm done with everything. She just needed you there, and the family, to say, okay, now I still have my purpose. Because it is true, as a mom, once your kids are grown and out of the house and blah, 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 all right, now what?
Yeah.
Now what do you do? Especially if you're a husband, because you hear a lot about that where, like, even when my grandfather died, it wasn't even 6 months later. My grandmother was right behind, because then the kids are all out. It's like, all right, well, now I'm alone.
Right.
And back in the day, they went from the home to marriage to family. Never were you alone, so
Yeah.
now it's like, what do we do?
Right.
So now it could have been the whole purpose in why bringing you all together. And like you said, she was there for you as much as you were there for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
now, how has your experience as a caregiver changed your perspective on life and relationships?
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus, what I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
well, I'm certainly, it's funny. I'm certainly more empathetic to old people.
Yeah.
Whenever I see there's I call her Madame Simone, who's maybe the oldest woman in my little village. This little village is like 8,500 people in the south of France. It's very cool. 16, my apartment was built in 1540, they say. So it's cobblestones. It's just so cool and romantic. Whenever I see this woman, I always go to her and speak my horrible French, and she seems to understand. And you just gravitate towards that. And so I did some of that before, certainly with my dad as well, but definitely after mom's experience. And I've had people who ask me advice and stuff, which is nice. When I was doing this stuff, I had a couple friends, as baby boomers, we're all going to be faced with this one day. Well, I was in the middle of it, and I had some friends who were about to get into it. And so I talked to them and told them what I'm doing. And in the book, I say it's not a how-to book. It's what I did, and you may get some benefit out of it. But my approach was certainly unique. But they seemed to find value in whatever I was telling them. So I said, I think I have something here, and I think it's a message that a book form is going to be the best way to get it out to people. And the response has been absolutely tremendous. And again, a lot of them from from the town I grew up in. They found out about this thing, and it's kind of like
Small world.
not quite going viral, but and then other countries. Since I'm here, there's people in England and Australia and New Zealand and stuff like that who I've met here, or friends of friends. And so it's getting out globally, which is kind of fun. But I had a person from my hometown. I can't name her because it was a very personal note she sent. And I don't know her, but she went to my high school.
Okay.
I think years after me. But she found out about this book. And so she kept me posted on text messages saying, oh, I got it. I read it, and now I'm going to read it again because I really like it. Because my mom's 95, and I'm going through this now. And I said, great, keep me posted. And so she told me when she read it again.
Right.
Yesterday, I got a note from her. It said, my mom died last week. And she said, the humor and the joy that you found in your process and the way you shared that story helped me get through it. And so that's the reason. It wasn't the original reason, but I mean, that's basically, I think, the reason I wrote the book, because I had a lot of really touching notes like that, but that was a pretty raw one. And and I'm kind of a sap for all that stuff. So
you never know who it's going to help. I mean, I had written a book too, not different situations. It was called Life's Obstacles Can Be Your Greatest Motivators. I was just talking about all the crazy, horrible stuff that I've gone through, nothing remotely close to yours. But the whole point isn't just throwing my dirty laundry out there. I'm hoping that if anybody else goes through it, you're helping them, and everybody's going to go through what you went through. Well, everyone's going to go through elderly parents who, not to the extent you did, but if they do find themselves in those shoes, they're not alone. You're giving them the little light and a little shoulder saying, I went through this. This is what I did. I think that's really good.
Yeah, and they may not jump in and do what I did, the hands-on stuff. Even I had two brother and a sister who were not hands-on at all, but they did other things.
Right.
So do what you feel comfortable with, because if you're not right for it and you're stressing out and stuff, your loved one is going to feel that and feel bad about that. So, you know.
Yeah, because they don't want to feel like a burden, and you definitely didn't make her feel like a burden. You made her feel like you're having just as much fun with this as she is. You know, I mean,
well, someone had to fold those washcloths.
Yeah, well, not everybody.
Genevieve,
not every son is going to come and do the nails and all that. So you're making her feel special as opposed to feeling like a burden. So you definitely made her last few years extremely happy.
And I did try to take advantage of it too, because another chapter in the book I call my chick magnet. So I'd get her all dressed up in her wheelchair and thinking, you know, because again, I was in my 50s, single, living with my mother. So it's not a great dating opening line. So I would get her dressed up and put her in a wheelchair and say, she's going to be like my puppy. What girl doesn't like a guy with a puppy?
Look how cute, yeah.
So I would dress her up and we'd go up and downtown and people would love it. But they would come and talk to her and go, yeah, what about you? But hi, Genevieve, how are you doing? So it didn't help my dating life, but it was kind of fun.
But at least now, I'm sure it will, because people, you know, at least they'll say, well, here's a guy who's loving his family, who's compassionate, who's understanding, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sure that's going to help you now.
Well, yeah, I'm spoken for now, so I'm okay. But I'll definitely throw that carrot out there. So
now, I guess, how did you manage to balance the emotional and physical demands of caregiving while maintaining your own well-being?
Well, that's another chapter. So the pros say you got to take breaks. Yeah. And when my little sister and I were there in the beginning, we made sure we went out for walks and, you know, checked out the old neighborhood and stuff like that. It was fun. We took breaks. But when I went on full time, I said, I'm a guy, I can handle it. No big deal. And when I renovated the house, I made them, you know, in the man cave, I got a rowing machine and some weights. And I said, this will be my stress relief. Certainly ripping apart the house to renovate was stress relief as well. But you got to be careful, because it's, you know, whether even if when you're sleeping, you know, it's me and my mom in the house, and I did put a video like baby monitor there, which was not great for my sleep because I'd be watching on my iPhone the whole time. She was a night person because she worked the graveyard shift for 30 years at the record. So she was so active at night. So I'm watching. It's better than anything that was on TV. She's talking with people. You can't see, and she's fidgeting, and I'm like, this is fascinating. But I would have been better if I just sat in the room with her. So the stress got to me, and I had to actually go through 3 emergency surgeries. I had what they call diverticulitis, which I never heard about before. But and I kept asking doctors, was this, you know, stress or diet or what? Because I never drank that much. I always kept in good shape and ate well. But they said, yeah, the stress could have done this. So it was, my mom almost outlived me, actually.
Wow.
So I learned my lesson, but also that helped me with the empathy, because while I was in there almost a total of 2 months, but it was broken up over an 8-month period. I had to wear diapers when I was in the hospital. I was on some major medication, so I had visions that, you know, my mom had her own dementia visions, but boy, I had some crazy stuff going on. I needed assist in walking. There was a protein drink that we gave my mom that I also had in the hospital and also Ensure. So I'm sitting there going, oh, this is what I have to
deja vu,
in the far distant future. But it certainly it helped me, I guess, be more understanding of what my mom was going through. So I guess that was somewhat of a blessing in disguise, because I survived it. But so I would say, listen to the pros. You got to take the breaks, because the stress, whether you're even conscious of it, I don't know. I mean, your mother, the whole time, at least mentally and emotionally, physically, it's enough. If you try to get some sleep, great. But that's kind of out the window, because you're on call. But you're always worried if she's still breathing. what am I going to be met with in the morning if I do
Yeah.
finally get some nice sound sleep? You're waiting for that call just in case. I need help. I wanted some drink, and it might be silly. There were a couple of times she woke me up really early in the morning, and I barely got sleep. And I would fly down the stairs, slide into her room, and say, "Yes, what do you need?" She goes, "Just wanted to chat."
Aw.
And I go, "Oh, okay. I'm going to put my heart back in my chest
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
And can we chat in a couple hours?"
Yeah, she
So
definitely
there
needed
was,
you there.
but again, you got to approach it with a sense of humor, because you can easily get angry with any of this stuff.
Yeah,
But
especially if you haven't gotten good night's sleep.
yeah, yeah.
Wow,
And so
that's
she was
crazy.
great. One time I was getting ready for bed, and just as I'm buttoning up her diaper, she starts to pee on me, which is charming for a baby to pee on a new parent, but not for your 90-year-old mother.
Yeah.
So I'm going, "Oh, Mom, why now?" And she looks at me, she says, "It's natural. So how can you be angry?" So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So you just start all over again and do it.
She
So
wanted another bath. That's what it was. She wanted
maybe,
another
yeah, she
bubble
wants that
bath.
tender loving care once again. So yeah, she was a character, but that helped, because I would give some of that back when I was doing the renovations. She'd be in the living room watching the Animal Planet, which was kind of a 24/7 thing for her. And I would be going back and forth with the 2x4s and stuff, bringing
Right.
the raw materials down the basement. And we would have the same conversation almost every day. She'd just watch and then go, "What is going on?" And I said, "I'm making your house beautiful, Mom. I'm renovating and starting with the basement." "Well, who's paying for all that?" I said, "Mom, you are. So cheer up. You may have to go back to work."
Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine?
But almost every day we had that conversation for probably a couple of weeks.
That's
Who's
funny.
paying for it? You are. So
Aw. Anything else you want to add that we didn't talk about, or any funny moments, or moments that you think
I'll,
people need to know about, or whatever?
I'll tell you one more about the during the renovations, because it was she had a bit of dementia. There's some visions that we talk about in the book. The book is very entertaining. People say they laugh out loud and they cry out loud, but it's, even if someone's not going through it, there's a lot of fun in the book. While I was doing the renovations, I asked her and kept her abreast of everything. So all the decisions were made as a team.
Mhm.
And so we picked out the basement paint, and the last thing was the carpet. So I put 2 3-inch carpet samples on her breakfast plate, and then went into the kitchen to fill up her sippy cup with Gatorade, sponsor. And so I came back, and she had one of the carpet samples in her mouth with a scowl on her face. And she says, "This is not a cookie." And I said, "I know, Mom, it's a carpet sample. Which one tastes better?" And she chose well. So
Good job.
it worked well in the basement. So
That's awesome.
yeah, the humor was a very important factor in this whole thing. So
I bet. Yeah, the dementia's scary. I've seen that in my family as well. My dad was an only child, and I remember going to visit my grandmother, and she says, "Oh my God, you two are such a great couple." He's my
yeah,
dad. And my dad was heartbroken, like my own mom doesn't even know who I am. But then half hour later, she knew exactly who you are. So it's a
yeah.
scary disease, but having people understanding around you, that goes a very long way.
Yeah.
And your
She had
book,
some really good visions. Most of them were pretty light though, and
right,
some were just damn entertaining. But I have a bookend in the book. I guess this comes from my screenwriting thing. So the opening scene is one of her visions, and then I close it with my interpretation of that vision after she passes. And it was lovely because so she had this vision of these kids coming down. We lived on a dead end right near the end of the cul-de-sac, second house from the right on the end. And these little kids were coming around and stopping in front of her bedroom window and like waving, and they had balloons and flowers, and she's just waving. "Oh, look at this one. Oh, there's some daisies. I love daisies." And I'm like, wow, this is and very detailed.
Right.
And it was lovely. And I was just like, do you know any of them? She says, no. And I said, are any asking you to join them? Because I thought it might have been, a call from heaven to go.
Right.
And she said, maybe. And so she'd be teasing me. But so I had that scene, and I don't know if my sister even knew about that yet. But I asked, I guess, siblings, especially the older ones, that they had the pictures that might be helpful for the book. And my sister sent me this picture of my mom, about 8 years old, the same age as those kids, and in a frilly white dress, the same as the girls in there. And she's holding a flower, and she's sitting on a bench. And that's the photo I used on the front cover. Wow. And I don't think Carol had any idea, but whether, again, when you do this stuff, the universe, and this was, as soon as I saw that, I said, oh my God, there's the cover shot.
Wow.
And that might have been something that was in my mom's head, and that helped create that vision. And it's just, I don't know whether it's destiny, serendipity, or whatever, but it was very cool.
They always say, like, whatever with your brain, it's like a file cabinet. You have all these memories just in there from, your whole entire life. And what comes out, when you're not really thinking, like, I guess, because I had a brain injury in my accident. So they would ask me I know none of this. I only know what people tell me, but they would ask a simple question. Apparently, whatever I would blurt out, they were like, where did she even get that? Could have been something I read, could have been something I seen on TV, doesn't know, but it's in your brain. So the fact that she's saying all this, it definitely could have been like stuff from her childhood, whatever.
Or a really happy time. Yeah. And that's what she wanted to go back to. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's yeah. So it's all fascinating. And it was fun so the book was released on Mother's Day last year.
And you have it in large print and audio and all that good stuff. Right?
Yeah. I did the audio book in November and December. I set up a studio here in France and did it here. Nice. And so between publishing time and recording, because I couldn't do the audio, you saw me before. I mean, it's just bawling, even in parts that aren't sad. I'm what is this? Baseball. No, not crying at baseball. So I needed some time. So, and all my theatrical training had to kick in. So when I did this, though, I had time to reflect, and it was very interesting because I made some changes in the book. Okay. And I think that's when I thought about the change in who's rescuing who. Right. And it's interesting once it's out there, and then you're seeing the response, but then also your own revisiting the book and how things may change.
Yeah, you're reliving it all over again.
Yeah. So it's been a lovely process, and I'm writing another one that's going to focus more on my dad. Okay. There were a number of chapters in this one that didn't seem right for this particular story. So I think the last edit I did, I took out like 4,000 words. Wow. But a lot of that will go into the next book. Right. But it's, they say I studied memoir. I never wrote memoir. So I studied with a Marion Roach Smith, who's a memoir teacher. And she said that memoir, what's interesting about memoir, it's really self-discovery. As you're right, it's not about you. It's about something you did and something that changed in you because of what you did or whatever. But it is really about self-discovery. So it was pretty interesting.
And you're giving them their little legacy as you're talking about them still, and they're circling the whole world. Nice.
Yeah. Some of the siblings aren't happy with some of the things I reveal, but I wanted an honest book. So there's some things in there that they might not be happy. And certainly there's enough stuff about me that is not my proudest moments, I say, but they were all crucial to the relationship. But
it's real, so, you're talking real facts of what happened. It's you could pamper it and make it a nice selling book, but you're trying to help people, and that's being as real as you can.
Yeah,
good stuff. So where can people find more about your book and learn more about you and all that good stuff? Well,
if they Google A Cup of Tea on the Commode, we're everywhere. The website is acupofteaonthecommode.org.com will also get you there. It's the main bookseller, of course, is Amazon. It's in some brick and mortar places actually around the world. I know there's a few in London, and it's if you go online, you'll see it. And it's not translated into other languages yet, but it's on bookstores that I have no idea where they are. So our distributor is doing a really good job getting it out in the world. But I have a YouTube channel with probably, I think, over 170 short little teaser videos that I've been doing the last couple of years, even do TikTok and Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr. It's all over the place. But if they want the book, Amazon has the paperback on sale. The large print is going to be going on sale for 30% off, starting, I think, the 24th of June. The distributor wants to, I guess, get those out there. So if you don't like to squint, the size on the regular print is actually pretty good. But the large
keep holding
print,
it further back.
Yeah, you can put it across the room. And I was going to do a large audio book also, where you just, the volume is like not, 10, but 14. You get this.
Right.
So, yeah, it's fun. And some of those teaser videos are mostly on the humorous side. So people will get a kick out of that, I think.
But it's good for both sides, because it's good for people who may be going through it or will be going through it, but also for the elderly who might be feeling in that situation, to realize that they're not a burden.
Yeah, and I did it was actually right before COVID. There's an expat group here that would meet, and they're mostly retired people. And so I did a presentation about 4 years ago to them before the book was even out. And and I read some chapters and we talked about it. And one of the ladies stood up and said, "When's this going to be available? I want to give it to my kids." They want their kids to take care of them the right way. So I thought, wow, that's a whole market I didn't even think about.
This goes across all the
So young and old alike will love this. But it's funny. But I do have friends, male friends, that were good friends and stuff, and they won't say a thing about the book. They never like anything I put on Facebook.
Thing. Yes.
They may be afraid of it, because they don't want to maybe have to deal with this stuff.
Like you say, it's normally a woman doing that sort of, it's just like the caregiver for an infant. It's usually the mom, not to say dads aren't living, but it's usually the mom's role.
Right.
And, like a man to say, well, I had to see my 90-year-old mom naked. No man is ever going to say that out loud, but that's
other
life.
Than me.
Yeah, but that's life, I mean, good stuff. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Mark Steven Porro. So thanks for listening to Success. Well, thank you for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Baronowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God.